Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Penny for Your Thoughts. Glad to have you all here with you, or with us, shall we say. Already getting off on a bad start. We're going to be talking about some character creation and kind of the minds behind the characters. You can see a few of them here with me, and we'll be expecting Craig pretty shortly. He's just had to do a few things. And yeah, we're going to try and dig into the minds of these people to work out why it is they do what they do. Before we do that, we better do a few run throughs just to make sure that everything's noted there. The Soft Throne Saga was live on Friday, and the party's journey to, is it Braytac?
Braytac, yeah.
Braytac, yeah. David's trying to catch me out with the Irish names there.
Sorry.
Journey to Braytac's Grove was interrupted at a place of power by a figure from Finar's past, which the party defeated. Why was he there? And who sent him? Now that he's dead, they may never know. I guess we'll have to find out about that one for sure. Ryman the Frost Maiden is on a brief hiatus as DM Craig, again, who will be joining us soon. He's going to be braving the frigid Canadian North while he's on tour with his band. We wish him all the well, and I'm sure he'll do absolutely amazing if you've ever seen any of his stuff on YouTube and stuff. We'll be returning September 1st for episode 4, titled The Road to Bryn Shander. So that one's going to be fun. In the house of, now this is Fellowship the Fallen, in the house of Falavar, there were some spooky goings on, a ghost, a possession, and some star-spawn manglers. All were defeated, but are they truly gone? Tune in Tuesday and we'll see what the situation is with that. Cloaks of Minehelm returns on July 31st at 7 p.m. With the odds stacked high against them, our so-called heroes must fight their way through an army of outlaws with only each other and one mysterious sniper in the shadows for backup. Looking forward to seeing who that is, actually. You can join the Churn Gang. They'll be coming from the Alternative Academy Part 2. After defeating the Guardian Mimic, our heroes head for a showdown with the school's Guardians and Baba Blackbird. That one's going to be good. Yeah. Violet Madness is back Sunday week as the party trudged through the swampy mire. They swiftly realized that they were not alone. After learning of a much bigger threat in the bog, they elect to take the Duke in their company to safety, but it's easier said than done. That one's going to be a tricky one, I'm sure. Yeah. Now, there's a bit of a summer break for the party trapped in the extraplanar manor that is the Candlekeep Mysteries. They have 4 of the 7 puzzle books, and the furniture seems less aggressive, at least for now. But they'll be back on the 25th of August to see if they can find the rest of the books and escape, and hopefully not get their asses bitten. Isn't that right, Dave?
Yeah.
And one last quick shout out, obviously, to our wonderful DM Dave here. He's going to be doing a live session with D8 Dungeon as part of their D8 Dungeon drive this year, 2022, in aid of the Planned Parenthood on Saturday night at 9:45, 21:45 BST, with a brand new one-shot he's created called Portrait of a Lady. So, brief synopsis is: a cursed portrait artist seeks the aid of a capable adventurers to locate the woman he wronged and convince her to remove the curse. And as I suggested to Dave, does he deserve it though? I guess we'll have to find out. Yeah,
he's a nasty man.
Oh, that's going to be an interesting one. Do we fight with the ghost or do we fight with the bloke?
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely tune in Saturday for that one. That one's going to be a fun one, and probably one of my favorite character creations. So I'm enjoying. I'm looking forward to that.
Action,
yeah. So, as I said, joined by these wonderful people this evening. Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, hi, I'm Dave. I write and run the Soft Throne Saga every other Friday on Penny Dragon Games. I also play in the Violet Madness, and I play in Candlekeep Mysteries as well. So in the Violet Madness, I play Shadar Vicanis, and in Candlekeep Mysteries, I play Sir Richard Blythorn. That's me. That's what I do.
Excellent. Fona, would you like to tell us about you?
Yeah, so hey, I play in 2 of the Penny Dragon stream games. I play Scales, the Dragonborn Barbarian in Dave's Saffron Saga, and I play Andy, the somewhat antisocial rogue in the Cloaks of Minehelm with Ben. So yeah, that's
Andy.
probably where you know me from.
I have to say, I love Scales. I've loved Scales for so long now. It's such a great character. Really is. And as you can see, we've got Joe with us, or Deadpan. You want to tell us about your characters there?
Well, I'm Deadpan / Joe. I play a character named Robert in Saffron Saga. And I also play another character named Syphilis, and no, that's not a disease. And yeah, those are the 2 characters that I get to play. But yeah, and that's pretty much all about me.
Syphilis is very fun to play against because I didn't realize the background you'd taken and stuff, or the way you were doing it, and I took a kind of a similar one. So they're like both kind of show off in front of everyone and try to be the best. So that's kind of interesting. Like I said, we'll be joined by Craig soon. Craig's had a number of different characters within the games. Gendry being, a particular noteworthy one, as well as some other characters, and of course being the DM for Rime and the Frost Maiden and last year's Tomb of Horrors. I was trying to remember what it was called then. Where that was some shenanigans for sure, but we'll be joined by him very shortly. So guys, I gotta ask all of you, who's your favorite character you've created?
No, I love them all.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know, it's kind of a tie for me between Scales and a character I played in a home game with Ben actually as well, which was called Byron, and she was a rogue, but she was the kind of like drinks too much, swears too much, sleeps around too much, overly confident type of rogue. Everyone in the bar knows her name, that kind of thing. So I loved playing her. But I'm really digging Scales. I'm really getting into Scales now. So I think Scales is rapidly running up behind Byron and will very possibly, I think, overtake him or her soon. So
I like hearing obviously what you're saying there about your first character, or not the first character, but the previous one and stuff. I love that with people that create characters and stuff, how you can literally go from so many different extremes. Like my first character was a female gnome artificer, and then I went to a dwarf paladin. It's just completely different, and I think that's probably one of my favorite things about character creation is you can be anyone you want to be. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Dave, what would you say would be a good character?
I mean, yeah, it's hard because like on stream, out of the streams, it would definitely be Shadar. Because I started him off, he's been on a journey so far. We haven't played that many sessions, but I started him off to be this. My initial idea was that he would be this hardcore, grim and just bummed out, sad goth boy. And then when we're walking through the swamp and stuff like that, I can, he's gotten a little bit comedic, and I'm okay with that because the tragedy is still there, but I can still see him walk through the swamp and go, say stuff like, "What a wonderful bastion of death this place is. The Raven Queen would love it. See all around us is death," and that kind of stuff. And we all know it's funny to listen to, and it's funny to that I'm having fun with the character, but he does believe that. He thinks it's wonderful, and there is fun in that. So yeah, it has to be Shadar. I know Mark has some horrible stuff lined up for him at my request, because when I was making a character, I said to Mark, so we all started at level 12. So I said to Mark, look, I want this guy to think, and he has had it. His backstory it's tragic. He's only 30 years old. He was aged to 120 by some sort of energy drain ghost. He doesn't really know a lot about the world, but you know, he's a very respected figure in the capital city of not the capital city, sorry, Mark's main city, I forget the name of it, in the continent, in Castonia. But
there's the man himself.
There he is there, yeah. Mark says in chat, been perusing IKEA to figure out which kitchen sink to throw at Shadar. Yeah. So I said to Mark, like, so he has a really tragic backstory. So I said to Mark, look, he thinks that he's been through it all. Now he's a level 12 grave cleric in the Church of the Raven Queen. He's who they send out to take care of the serious shit, and he can do it by himself usually. So I said, look, he thinks he's been through it all. I want you to fucking destroy him. I want you to break him down. And so he realizes that, you know, that's nothing yet. So Mark was like, challenge accepted.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I was lucky enough to play. I was lucky enough to play in Mark's, you know, a couple of one shots and stuff that way. And then obviously joined you guys on the Violent Madness. And I didn't realize how terrified I was to let Mark make choices for my character in the most wonderful of ways, in that he creates incredible stories. So I'm excited and also incredibly terrified.
That's it. Like,
but that's like one of the best bits of, like, okay, so you have to get a rapport with whoever's your GM, but like seed a certain amount of stuff into your backstory that are like pins, and then just hand it to your DM and say, go mad. Like, because then as a player, you're not just playing through your backstory that, you know, like, it's so suddenly something you gave as a nugget becomes this whole other thing, and you're like, you get to actually play with it and interact with it. Like,
that's what happened with Scales when you took, what is it, Oath of the Path of the Ancestors, is it?
Yeah,
Path of the Ancestral Guardians. I completely changed what the main arc in the whole thing was. The main campaign arc, I was like, there's so much opportunity here. When, you know, there's no, and I like kind of already had the thing where there were no Dragonborn really in the continent of Sophoron. And then when you took that, it was like, okay, well, where are they coming from? And then I knew the history behind it, so I was like, right, grand. So it took me a week or two, but I completely, so not that the whole campaign is Scales' story, but it's inexorably tied into who Scales is, and that's the thing. Like, that, like, that was a late decision for you to pick that.
But even
see the man in question now.
Yeah, there he is.
There he is. But even before that, like, Scales' origin story is just that, like, he was adopted by two human farmers, Sam and Sarah, or their names keep changing. They're two S's.
Yeah.
But I can never remember what I settled on. But like, yeah, they're just farmers. They needed somebody with a bit of brawn. They adopted this kid from the orphanage, and I didn't even bother to try and think, why was he an orphan? Why does he not have his own parents or anything? I just kind of said, yeah, go, here you go. And I would never have come up with anything close to as cool as what Dave is coming up with. So I love that piece of just giving hints or giving things that you can let your GM run with and just playing through it. Like,
but it's more fun for a player then as well, because you don't know what to expect. You have to
know
the whole story, you know.
Yeah, I mean that there's a big thing in like theatre and stuff like that where you play, well, you not play a game, but like you practice like the process of yes and.
Yeah.
So the idea of having your DM saying to you like, okay, so you're the last Dragonborn, and you're like, okay, now what? You're like you're going with it. And I think you guys play that off incredibly well. And Scales is youthful naivety to me is just amazing. Like, it's truly brilliant. It's that kind of, you know, when a toddler like says to you, "Oh, you're big, aren't you?" It's like, yeah, I am, because they got no filter of that kind of you know, social political correctness, should we say. They just come out with it, and that's what I love about Scales. It's just like, oh, shall I punch you now? And like that kind of thing.
But it doesn't
So-
even have to be gameplay wise or sort of how Fauna plays scales, because like there could be a scene happening. Like I'll never forget the scene
I wandered off.
in the Herbalist. Yeah, and they were talking, and I just see the token go do
Yeah.
do, and I'm like, oh fuck, what's happening here? And it was just pure scales just going up. Oh look, and what was
But
it? The not lettuce.
Not a lemon. I still
Not
have the
lemon.
not. I still have the not a lemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
From-
keeping that not a lemon.
From the perspective of another player at that table, when Scales does stuff like that, it's really like when you're babysitting and you're like, oh crap, where'd the kid go? Like,
Yeah.
it's very
We're
much.
in mortal peril, but fuck, what Scale's about to do?
So it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, I look away for 1 second and then they're like sticking their fingers in stuff they shouldn't, and
Oh god.
you know.
I recently statted that creature. I must send it to Ryan. I sent it to Jean, and I sent it to, I think I sent it to Andy. I know I sent it to Mark. And just for their input on it. It's particularly nasty.
Which one's that?
When Scales put his finger into this, I said there was a sort of a
Yes.
plant pot of sand, a jar of sand, and then you could see some sort of wake left by something moving around, and Scales was like, oh, I'll put my finger in it. And then it was like, whoa, okay. But you made the deck save.
Yeah.
You made the deck save,
I
I think,
did.
because you had danger sense.
Because I had danger sense, yeah. But yeah, like the thing with Scales, like evolve, like so, like that. What it became a choice very fast to have Scales be the kind of naive, innocent type of dumb. But like, so it started out as just like, I'm going to play a barbarian this time to go back to some of my roots were in barbarians, like, and you're barbarian because you're statting everything else. Their intelligence is usually low, their wisdom's usually low. They are usually dumb, lumbering, punching machines. You know what I mean? That's kind of their role in the team. Let's face it. So you can either have the kind of like knowledgeable stupid, or you can have the just never got any cop on kind of innocent stupid, and that's where I went with Scales. And it's been more fun, I think, to have that like wide-eyed innocence. And I know Dave has probably plans upon plans of how he's going to like slowly erode the innocence.
It will break my heart to do though, because I love Scales, and like, so like Kate, who is It's a Map, she like, Scales is her favorite character, and she's like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I can't. I'm like, well, I can tell you, but do you want to know? And she's like, yeah, but no.
Yeah.
So it will break my heart. It really will. But you know, I can't tell how Scales will react to the stuff I throw at him. You know, so
To be honest, neither can I most of the time.
yeah. Well, this is it. You have to wait until it happens and see where you are.
But see, they're the moments that lead to like massive character growth, right? Like you won't even see it coming, and then all of a sudden it's there. And like, I've seen it watching players play on stream. I've seen it like from my own perspective playing games and stuff. Like there's been a couple of times there on the Fellowship game where, you know, things happened and like Magna's like kind of thinking about different things, and then like other people having conscience problems and stuff as well. And it's a real development thing. And I always say that my favorite part of D&D is narrative.
Yeah.
You know, I like the battles and stuff. They keep things interesting. They make things, you know, good. But the narrative stuff is definitely what is good as far as I'm concerned, anyway. But we're gonna listen, guys. So we're gonna come back and we're gonna speak to Joe about his character. But we're gonna pop out for 2 minutes just to grab in Craig because he's back now, and then we will see you back. So don't go away, and we'll be back in a second. All right.
See you in a second.
Hi guys, we're back again for better or for worse. Unfortunately, there was a few technical issues. Craig's unfortunately not going to be joining us now this evening, but we'll be making sure to grab him hopefully on the next one, because he has a mind full of monsters and I want to get to the bottom of some of them. So yeah, going back to what we were discussing, we were talking about the characters that our wonderful guests here have created. We were talking about Shadar, we were talking about Scales, and now I would love to talk about this good-looking fella. Look at this. Now, I'll be honest, this is actually the first time I've seen a picture of Robert. When Dave sent me this, I was like, oh, damn, I didn't realize he was like quite the charming looking young man. Like,
Yep.
so what was the mindset behind Robert?
Well, I mean, it's a weird mix of things, but mostly Robert. I mean, he's kind of good looking by accident, but it kind of works because if he is good looking, he's too self-conscious to know, and he really doesn't handle well with people noticing that he is good looking. But yeah, but at the well, he might grow into it. I don't know. But now he's good looking and old, so now he's got that kind of like hot old guy vibe.
Yeah.
But when it came to making Robert, firstly, it was actually supposed to be a wizard, but we already had a wizard in the party, and I was like, I want to make another wizard. That's lame. And yeah, he was a weird. I always try to somewhat subvert expectations when it comes to making a character, and Robert is the result of making the most not roguelike rogue I can. And yeah, I love him to bits though. He's great.
It's so interesting watching you play, Robert, just because it's like you're not trying to be like suave or you know in that kind of way, just generally great with people, but it just seems to keep coming across that way. And then it's just like I can see you, I can hear you, and the way you're describing it and how he feels uncomfortable with that, like you were saying. But just to have this idea that he just can't help being that charismatic, it's just kind of funny to me.
It's hilarious that it kind of works out that way, but that's just, I swear it's just Dave trying to make him blush even more, because like whenever it kind of works out that way, it's purely accidental. I mean, Robert doesn't even try to come off as confident or something like that, because I mean the guy has a charisma of I think 8 or 9. It's like he's not charismatic, he's not confident. He's a little bit more he's going through a bit of a angsty phase right now. But yeah,
Well,
no,
you look at who he did well with though. Freedom Moondrop, who was a 70-year-old proprietor of the inn, who he threw a bit of attention at, and I mean, what 70-year-old woman is not going to lap that up?
Yeah.
You know.
Looking for a sugar mama, was he?
whatever flirting he did with her was purely accidental. He didn't mean to word it that way, or
Yeah, well, she accidentally flirted back.
So with
And
a
then it was-
charisma of 8, can you imagine what he'd be like if he had a charisma of 18? Like,
see, that's
dangerous stuff.
That's actually the great idea, because I want him to have a charisma of 18, because that fits perfectly into what I envision for the character. I always try to make a character that can grow, and I want him to grow into being more confident and become somewhat of a Casanova. But with that low charisma, it's just not going to happen.
You see, when it comes to charisma, I like you look at dex checks. DMs can go, DM set the DC. So just because you have a low charisma doesn't mean that you're going to automatically be shit at every social interaction. That like there's somebody out there for everyone, and that's how I like to approach charisma. You know, you can Robert could like hit it off with Freedom Moondrop, and he could hit it off with someone else. It doesn't mean that he's automatically on the back foot. But when it comes to intimidation checks, or it comes to persuasion checks and stuff like that, yeah, he's gonna be probably, you know, a step behind people with a higher charisma. But I don't like the idea that charisma is how appealing you are to people. And I
Yeah.
never
Yeah,
really play
yeah.
it that way.
And
Yeah.
that's the same with any dump stat as well. I mean, we the coin term is a dump stat, in the sense that obviously you roll your stats out, and usually one would be less. As Fona was saying there earlier, a barbarian would usually have a dump stat of like intelligence or wisdom or something like that, because they need the strength, they need the constitution to be able to take, the hits and stuff. But that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be like dumb, or they don't have to be, like you said, Dave, uncharismatic in any way. It's a case of, and I like that's kind of the way you were talking about it, was that you let the situation play out and you deal with it as the situation depends on it, kind of thing, rather than just going, oh, what's your charisma? 8. Yeah, there's no way you could chat this person up. Maybe you could, absolutely.
Maybe you
Everyone has a
could, but
good
there-
night.
Yeah, but there are people like myself included who will like I'll know that I have a job interview, or I have to deal with a particularly difficult colleague or something like that, and I'll be in the shower and I'll rehearse the conversations and over again, and I'll get in there and it will turn out to be nothing like I thought it would be. And it's the same thing. Like you can have a high charisma or a low charisma, but once you hit that interaction that you've at this stage probably overthought, you're it's not going to work out in your favor,
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
but that doesn't mean that the person isn't ridiculously attracted to you.
Just to answer a question we got there from our lovable Andy a whiles back then, I wanted to make sure we answered the questions as they came in as well. And she asked, I actually want to know if my character Magnar has changed due to his poor luck. Now, this is something I think I've spoken about a little bit, kind of with people kind of off screen and stuff that way. But when it came time to create Magnar, I can't remember if we did rolling or not. John would be able to confirm, or whether it was point buy. I can't remember. But basically, I didn't know enough about paladins to create it properly. So Magnar's just a hot mess, like in every way there is. So he didn't change due to his poor luck. He's changed due to the circumstances that's kind of, arisen since he's been traveling with the group. And it just happens to be that the way things have changed a little bit have actually kind of worked in his favor. Like doing the training with Crag, so Carrick's character, Crag, that was, and again, I was saying earlier about narrative points where something will come along, you're not expecting it, but it just happens and it works perfectly. And I love how Carrick is using Crag now, where he's, again, a barbarian, dump stat, usually intelligence, wisdom, but he's learning. And I like that. I like the idea that you don't have to just stick to what your dump stat says you are, kind of thing. So yeah, it's not because of his bad luck, it's because he's had to adapt, essentially, is the answer to that question. And thank you for the question, Andy. That was brilliant. Thank you.
Richard has a comment there as well, I think, actually.
Was that I remember asking Ryan if his paladin wasn't optimal because he had multiclass plans for later. I didn't have plans for multiclass. Again, as things went on, you learn more about your character, and like I'm very much like I most of you know by now, I went to college to do acting and stuff that way. So like you get, like I get into my voice, I get into my character. So when I'm in that character, I think as that character. And Magnar was getting kind of sick of not being able to protect his friends properly enough, so he's multiclass now in a way that hopefully provides him ability to be able to look after his friends a lot better.
What did he multiclass into? Because
So,
most of the time when you're streaming, excuse me, we're playing Mark's home game. So.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So I think we're 8th level now, if I remember rightly. So it's 7 paladin and 1 fighter. And
Cool.
essentially,
Yeah.
I want to take him. I don't know if it's spoilery to tell you.
Okay.
But
did he feel that the divine power was affording him less opportunity to protect his friends, and he was having more opportunity. Like he was doing better with his fists. And
Well,
stuff
I mean,
weapons, or
most people will know Magnar as Magnar the Whiffer because he can't hit
yeah,
anything. He's just rubbish. But having said that, though, yes, there's okay. I can't say too much. There's more to the religious side,
cool.
which will develop, no doubt, because again, Joan is a master storyteller. As is all of our DMs on Penny Dragons. We're actually incredibly lucky to have some fantastic storytellers on this channel. Ones that I'm very happy to see each week, you know. Magnar seems to be the Whiffer, but he's there to protect his friends, and he always seems to get the killing blows. He's definitely there to protect his friends. As for the killing blows, that's just pure luck. That really is. Like, he might get the last 1 HP, but everyone else has done the other 149.
Awesome when it happens, though.
Do you know? But and I love, of course, the dynamic in Fellowship. Now, obviously, I'm biased. I'm in the game, but like, it's grown, and I like the kind of family feel that they now have. So that's pretty cool. And that's like looking at all the games, all the long running games, the ones that have had time to develop. Even the Sovereign Saga, like you're on your
20th
episode?
Yeah, episode 20 last Friday, yeah.
And even then, you're getting those character interactions. I know Shane, is it Jaden?
Jaden and Ren, yeah.
Jaden and Ren, that kind of whole interaction they had, very strangely enough, almost similar to Magnar and Craig. I think we're just noticing a thing that Carrick just likes to kill things. But anyway, much love to Carrick. Obviously, that's not a dig at all. I think it's great character. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty cool, and I like that kind of thing. Now, I do want to quickly go over, because we're here about character creation and our characters and how we've created them and the mindset behind that. There is, of course, plenty of different platforms out there of which you can create characters. Just to go through a couple of them there, I'll show you. So we have, like, you know, the original Dungeons and Dragons character sheets that you'll find in most like players' handbooks and stuff like that, where you know, you'd put in your name, you roll your dice, that kind of stuff. We also have the Roll20 ones, which now that I've got to use them, I find them pretty good to use, especially when you're having to add new stuff.
It's a bit.
How do you feel about the?
Yeah, it's a bit overwhelming when you're new.
Yes.
But as soon as you if you know how character sheets work, and you've just played more or less one game with a Roll20 page, then you start to prefer them. I mean, I prefer kind of the Roll20 page above D&D Beyond, because I have plenty of.
Me too.
I mean, I have plenty of books that are more physical copies, and I don't have them on D&D Beyond, for example, and then I could quickly just read them in on Roll20.
The thing I like about the Roll20 character sheets is that if you see the cogwheel beside the spells there at the top, a lot of the stuff in that cogwheel is unchecked. And as you get to know the Roll20 character sheet, you can go wandering through that little cogwheel section, and it's like, ooh, there's an exhaustion tracker. Ooh, you can split up your hit dice by class if you've multi-classed. So my barbarian in Mark's home game is it's a barbarian fighter, and when you click that checkbox, it gives you your 7 levels, like your 7d12 for your short rest, and then it gives you your 5d10 for your fighters, so you can choose which to click. And as the more you get to know Roll20, the more you can turn on, basically, and it kind of defaults with a lot of it off.
I've only DM'd that one game, so I haven't kind of looked into it too much as a DM, but I know as a player, like Joan was probably my biggest teacher through Roll20, getting me to learn how to use things, and it made such a difference that way. We got actually a fantastic question from Shane there in chat. So whatever about creating the character, but how do you live as them in session? What are your touchstones that you use as role players? So how do you get into your characters?
Let's take that one first.
I'm looking at Joe.
Well, yeah, we've referred to Joe.
Okay, so I have a usually I mean I don't have any backgrounds in acting or anything like that. I usually get in character just by trying to live the mood in a way, like to live their emotion that they're mostly feel for the most part. Robert, for the most part, for example, he's always like he doesn't I kind of feel like he doesn't want to look people directly in the eye because
Okay.
he's scared that they're gonna look back. So when I'm playing Robert, I just kind of shrink into myself and lean down and act a little bit more introverted than I am. But yeah, I mean, I just try to. I usually pick a emotion and then for a character, and I just aim right at that one all the time.
Yeah, so, I mean that's exactly what any kind of role playing is, though. Like you create a way to do that, and it's nice to know that when we see you on screen now, like hunched behind the microphone, we know why you're doing that kind of thing to get into the character. So what about you, Fona? How do you get into scales as such?
So I think it's that very quickly any of the characters, they get something that's just like, so Scales is that like innocent, loving life, liking butterflies, being easily distracted, and good-hearted kind of thing. So it's kind of concentrating in on those like core things that like, what is it that makes up Scales, and then getting that firm in my mind before it. I'll be honest, whenever I have to switch characters, like if I was playing Scales tonight and Andy tomorrow and say Baron on Sunday, I usually do end up very quickly after them. There gets a song that's like, that's that character's song. It's not even a playlist. It's just a song that I'm like, yeah, you know, one of the characters was like Elton John's "The Bitch Is Back" was the song that like I played in the car driving home frantically from work. And by the time like that would get me into it. Scales is probably something like Mr. Blue Sky, you know, like it's just like happy bouncy kind of thing. And that can help, but that I only usually need that when I'm switching characters really close together. So like Penny Dragon, I have Scales 1 week on a Friday and Andy the following week on a Sunday. So it's much easier to just sort of take a few minutes to think, okay. And I'm brutal for remembering how we finished last week. I'm always like waiting for the DM's notes and like last time on the game, this is where we left our players. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're in a swamp. Okay, cool, boom. So it's that kind of just remembering the little core nugget of like, this is a shy person or this is an evil mastermind person, and what their raison d'etre is, because that kind of informs for me how they're going to act. And that is what I use to get in the mindset of that particular person.
I
Awesome.
feel very much the same way, where you're going from one session to another, where Robert is super shy and like doesn't want to be in the spotlight, and then my other character practically worships himself. So that was a unique struggle, I find. But yeah.
Especially if they're close together, like you said, if they're within a couple of days of each other, you kind of have to break away from one to get to the other one, kind of thing.
Yeah, or even like so Scales is a Friday night, so that's a work night, if you know what I mean. So like that's fine. Most of the time it's Friday, you finish kind of like your weekend is beginning, people are winding down. But if you have a day at work that up until like 6 o'clock you're on high stress calls and you're being a manager and you're making decisions, and then you have to go be Scales who's going to be like distracted by butterflies and not pay attention to anything. You have to really switch off the kind of mindset that's going to be like, I'm going to pay attention to what everyone's saying and I'm going to help figure out the plan, and go back to being the person who's standing at the back of the group going la 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 while all the important stuff is being discussed. And that's when I think music and having those touchstones of what your character is helps to just kind of take a few minutes and be like, right, I'm now Scales.
Yeah.
life amounts to what's pretty.
I imagine you like coming home from work stressed or whatever, and it's just like, right, where's the sugar? Let me take the sugar. That scale is like, we need some high energy, and I love that. I think it's so good. And obviously, like, we know that Dave loves his tragedies. Like, you give us some great stories there, but how did you get into that?
For me, I don't know. I'm not a voice actor by any means, but for me, it's the voice. I always have to have a voice for a character that I play. So Shadar has his voice, Richard has his voice, Devil has his voice, and so I'll be walking around the day of the game, walking the dog, and if it's Shadar, I'll be like looking down at the dog, and my neighbors will walk past me and they think I'm an absolute fucking lunatic, but I'll be like, I'll spend the day or half the day speaking to the dog and going, well, my little friend, shall we perambulate down the road and maybe meet our undoing as we do so, and just chat away to the dog in the character's voice. Or I'll be driving home and I'll be like, yes, good for you, my friend, Devil here, and I'll just be chatting away in Devil's voice. So that's the, once I have something that I can switch into. So if I played everyone with my own voice, I would find it harder to get into the character. So that, and again, music. Shadara's playlist, and it's all sad. I Can't Wait to Die songs like Sentenced and Insomnium and stuff like that. Archie Trooper says, stuck in traffic goes into a frenzied rage. It's almost happened. It's almost happened. I'm getting better.
As Carrick said, relatable. Absolutely.
I love the idea though that you're there screaming indicators, but you're doing it in like Devil's voice.
Yeah, fucking indicators, do it. And but yeah, so it's fun. But yeah, you do get some second looks. But yeah, for me, it's always been about the voice. I don't know why. Because I've never been in I've never done amateur dramatics. I've never done like acting or anything like that. So, I don't know. I just find the voice helps me step into their flesh suit for a while, and become them. So yeah, but that's it really. Just the voice and the music. But writing the backstory, yeah, like we've all had shitty times and hard lives, and some of us have good lives and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just like the Forged in Fire thing.
Yes,
and it really appeals to me. And then, like I said, giving that to Mark and going, he thinks he's been through the worst of it. Like, I need you to change his mind and have him long for the backstory days by the time you're finished with him. Mark was like, yeah, hold my beer.
My life was easier before. I thought it was hard, but it's not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think a part of that happens to be the like the metalhead in you. It'd be the same with me. It's like you kind of, because of that music genre and stuff, it kind of breeds that, some like not bad atmosphere, but just that kind of heavy,
forlorn,
kind
of like gray vibe. Yeah,
exactly.
It's funny as well because when sorry, Carrick says, Dave, throw the book at me. Party. Yeah. But
just make sure you throw it at Carrick, no one else, just him.
So I was talking to Kate about this recently, and so I had to come up with Shadara's backstory and I had to come up with Devil's backstory, and the two of them were dreams, which is really weird, because like when we were talking about when I think one of the players in Mark's games, Mark's home game, Aaron, put out a Facebook ad, pandemic, does anyone want to play D&D online? And then one or two of us replied, and then Mark said, well, look, I have a campaign ready to go, I can run it. And I think, I'm not sure if he's here or if he was offering to run it, but we were like, oh well, everyone was like happy days as a DM. And then I came up with, I said, fuck it, I'll just play a barbarian, and started thinking about it, went to sleep that night and just dreamt up the whole backstory. Same happened for Shadar. It didn't happen for Richard, but it's just weird that the two of them came to me and kind of dreamed. And then obviously I fleshed it out, but it's just weird. I do
Just
my
a
best
spark
work.
of imagination.
My
kind of
best
thing.
work when I'm asleep.
Isn't that? Can that be said for all of us?
If only I could be paid to sleep.
I mean, there's places that do that, but
Yeah. They poke and prod you when you're asleep though as well.
yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as character creation goes, like we've all got them kind of mad things, and as Shane was asking about how to get into it, like you said, voice absolutely is a great way to do it. I do that with several of my characters. Obviously, we know Magnar's voice. With Damon, I just give myself that little sly grin kind of thing, and it just, hello, darling.
Yeah.
That's literally my phrase into it.
Yeah.
Hello, darling. How are we today? So yeah, keywords as well. And I think Jimmy Carr's actually made a joke about that before, about how he does accents. It's just a keyword and stuff, and it definitely helps. Absolutely, it helps. So
Yeah, I think there are a few kind of key phrases, like you say, in a certain voice, just to get you into where you need to be.
Absolutely. And then the other way, I've seen some people do it, especially on streams where the people would be kind of dressed as their characters as well. It's very much is if you've got the armor on, you start to embody that person, that kind of thing. And I think that's brilliant. So, and I hope that answered Shane's question. I'm pretty sure we went through that there. Now, we did have someone else say about the D&D Beyond character sheets. I do actually have an example of
Yeah,
that
I believe
here.
they said it was when they just started a bit overwhelming as a new character when trying to go back and forth between screens.
Yeah, I found D&D. So this was from Stevie D. Cool. Thank you for coming and watching our stream this evening. He says, I found D&D Beyond a little overwhelming as a new character when trying to go back and forth between screens and stuff. Absolutely. D&D Beyond has an absolute wealth of knowledge, in the sense that you can access all the books there if you own them, and that's kind of the biggest deal for most people, I think. I am incredibly lucky to be in a position where my home DM has every book on there, so I'm able to access absolutely everything that's on there. And you can see on screen there, this is the PDF of D&D Beyond, and you can see the absolute amount of detail that's filled out on there.
Yeah.
But again, it definitely helps you if you've got someone to help you go through it. And like, I mean, you can see this, like, I'll go on to the second page and stuff. You can see it's completely filled out, but this is after a year or so. This is after, is it 2 years? He's gonna hate me now because I can't remember that. It's 2 years of playing, so it's taken us a while to get kind of this far into it. But I mean, just look at that. That's just the spells, and that's only up to second level. I have fourth level spells at this point. So
Are you a cleric or something?
Artificer, actually. Yeah.
Oh.
Level 14 Artificer. This is my original character, Solvi Scardi. She's a gnome artificer.
Yeah, I've been wanting to play an artificer for a while, but
Well, as you can
Dave
tell, it's
just
my
won't
favorite.
let me.
Yeah, well, you see, this is the thing. When we started Saffron, I was like, I don't know enough about them. So, if once I learn, at the time, I just did not know anything about them. So it's like, I don't know how to handle this. And so I'm going to respectfully ask you not to. But it's going to be one of the few times that I will say no to something, because I generally try not to. But I was like, I don't know what they do. I don't know enough about them. Now I do. So I would be happy for someone to play them, but I didn't know the effect that that class would have on my on my my campaign and my world building, and I didn't want to spend the majority of the first 5 episodes reacting.
Yeah, on the back foot.
To something that I didn't understand. I didn't think it would give a good first impression. I didn't think it would. I figured it would make me uncomfortable and stressed when it was my first time streaming. So I was like, I need to be in a comfortable place here. But now that I've played with Damon, and I know what they're capable of. I Grant, and it is like you said before. I think it definitely is about reskinning stuff so it fits in your world. If there are no guns, you can reskin the idea of this, and yeah, I get that now. So I'm more.
But
more
I also have another question for you guys. I know we are answering questions as we get them, but when you start making a character, how do you approach that? Do you approach it to make the character based on its class first, or do you choose a concept first and then take the classes that fit into that concept?
So I think I usually, so I have my go-to classes that I like to play, and they're always the first thought when I go to, I'll do another rogue because I love rogues. And then every so often I'll say, no, this time I'm going to do a wizard. So I'll pick the class because, or the whatever, because I want to do that challenge. But for me, it's usually just I try to come up with some kind of a notion of, my main question when I'm creating a character is, why is this person not at home? Why are they out adventuring? Like, why did they leave their town, their village, their city, whatever, to take up this life of rambling around, sleeping rough, and not just be a baker in one of the not be one of the NPCs that we encounter every time we go into a town. So I come up with that first, and then I see what class will fit the kind of idea that emerges from it. Like, so that for me is the key thing: is why did they leave town, and then what class would fit that idea that's emerging best. And usually try to say to myself, don't play a rogue. And then I often end up playing a rogue anyway. Because rogues can fit anything.
Okay, so if we were to say to you then, give us a character in 5 minutes, Fona, because you need to be playing tonight. That's what you'd go for, is it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Dave, what would be?
Well, I like to look, if I have time, obviously if it's a 5-minute job, then I'm going to pick probably a tank, and probably a barbarian, because I like to, this is the 5-minute question now. I like to take this, what everyone thinks a barbarian is going to be, and change it a little bit. So Devil is his intelligence is, the modifier is 0. So he's not stupid. He's just not. He came from a very, very remote and isolated frozen tundra area, and then made his way out and into the world at large. So he just doesn't know how society works. He doesn't know how, if he wants to eat, he would just go up to the tribesperson that's cooking the food and take what he wants. Like when he got to society, he quickly found out that that's not how it works, and he'd spend the night in jail. And so that's what I would go for first, and try and put a spin on the classic barbarian and make it a little bit different. But when my go-to is look through the classes and look through the subclasses and see, right, so I had never played a cleric before, and then I saw grave clerics, and I was like, well, why does this guy hate undead? And then the story started coming to me. So if a class feature inspires an idea for a character, then that's what I'll gravitate towards. So I'll read through things like that.
I experienced very much the same thing with the character that I played for, I believe it was called Dracon.
Did I? Yeah.
The evil one-shot.
Yeah.
Originally, the character is not supposed to be evil, but I mean, let's just quickly change him to be evil. But I saw ghost stuff, and I was like, I could be a ghostly necromancer. That'd be awesome. But instead of raising skeletons, I could raise ghosts to fight for me. But I'm like, how does a barbarian decide to do that? And they just ended up being a barbarian kind of for the feature. Nothing about them was barbaric. And they even had a pretty high intelligence. I believe they had an intelligence of 15. So instead of being a barbarian, he was just more like a ghostly commander. I would love to play that character again, but
yeah, well, I'm definitely gonna run a continuation of that story, because I had so much fun with the way you guys handled a bunch of absolutely pure and like light-filled paladins escorting a magical duck through a forest, and the just you guys all picked up on the comedic moments perfectly, like when the two there was Sir Hedgeford and Lady Something, and the moment Sir Hedgeford gets down on one knee to propose marriage to his other pros, the moment they all just descended on them and ruined this perfect moment. And Sir Hedgeford was like, "My lady, now that victory is assured and we're almost at our destination, we've adventured together for many a year, and I believe it's time to formalize this." And then the guys are just like, it was absolutely brilliant. But the story's not nearly finished. The collector is still there, and the collector featured in the other one, in the not Dry Icon. That was GaryCon that we did, and then I had the collector in Dry Icon, and that story is yet to be concluded. There's two stories where I was thinking that the two parties might meet.
It was
And I
very
loved Richard, who's in the chat. Sorry, Joe. I loved Richard I think Richard played the Bugbear. Yeah. He's there too. And just you talk about evil characters, but I really got the vibe that the Bugbear was just sort of gravitated toward the wrong crowd and is now with the wrong crowd, and then was just like, I need to get out of this. And Arthur Trooper says we need to free Major Pistachio. That was Ben's character.
Do you know, I'd actually somehow managed to kind of forget about that game until Joe started explaining it, and then again, and I was like, oh crap, that's the one where, as I went through the portal at the end, I fireballed them all just to make sure they were definitely dead. Yeah.
After agreeing, look, we'll let you go if you just give us the duck. They're like, yes. And then Ryan's character is just walking through, and it's like, bomb.
Yeah.
Was it a wand of fireballs where you just unleashed?
I think it was a wand of
age of them or something.
Yeah, it was something crazy. Like I was like, they're gonna die. I want them to die.
Like 60d6 or something. Yeah, Richards is the tortured bugbear. I really love that character. I love that character. It was great. So I'm really hoping
Richard's great at creating characters. We should have definitely had Richard in and talk about characters, because his characters are just amazingly creative.
Yeah, I with that. Bugbear.
So
yeah, I mean, so what would yours be, Joe? So you're saying that your characters you create based on the class, but what's your?
So I don't really create them based on the class. It's just usually I think, what have I not played before, and what is the story I want to tell.
Okay.
So I mean, I've never played a wizard. Well, I've played a wizard once, but I've never really played a wizard. And how can I tell a story about a wizard that will be interesting? I mean,
yeah.
Interesting for you, or interesting for the people watching the stream?
Interesting for me.
Players.
Interesting.
Okay.
I'm not so much interested in being an entertainer. If I happen to be entertaining, great. But I wanna tell a story that the people at the table and I myself will enjoy, and hopefully the people in the stream will enjoy as well.
Cool.
Like, yeah, it's usually I design the character based around the story I want to tell. Like with the Nathan guy, he was actually supposed to be like a guy carrying a dark burden, but effectively a good guy. But now he's a guy who's converted this power to control his ancestors into a like evil force. Which is not what it was supposed to be, but it ended up being really fun. But yeah, usually I choose an idea like Ghostly Warrior, and then I look at the classes and see what can I grab out of as much as I can to fulfill that idea. And that's also why I always end up multi-classing like 5 things.
Yeah.
I have to say, for me, narrative is normally always first.
So you just have an idea for a backstory.
So when I applied for the job, for the role of Magna back when we were doing LFG and stuff, and Joan put the call out for it, I asked him obviously a little bit about the kind of the area, the story, that kind of thing, what was going on, because I didn't know the module at all. And he gave me, you know, the brief and stuff, and I was like, okay, so this is what happens to my character. This is, you know, this is the things that are going to apply to this character. And then I started looking at where it was and what were the like likely races around that area, kind of thing, which is then what led me to the dwarves, because, you know, the whole thing is about mostly dwarves. Well, at least the you know, the cave is and stuff. So I was like, okay, that's what I'll lean into for that. And I'll do narrative for almost all of them. The only one I haven't done kind of narrative first was actually Damon, and that was because I'd played in Mark's one shot Jarvis, the, you know, that again, another artificer, but I was so desperate to play an artificer in a long campaign on stream and stuff, because I love the class. That would be my go-to. You know, if someone said create a character in 5 minutes, grand job, I've got an artificer, let's go. So Damon chose the, I was like, right, I'm doing an artificer, and then came the backstory, which I'm like I said again about Mark, I'm very, very excited to see it come out, but also I'm incredibly scared. That's going to be terrifying with what he can do with what we've allowed him to. And like you, and like most people that create a backstory, and Fona, I think you said it earlier on as well, is you have your plot points that you want in the backstory, but then you leave so many gaps that the DM can just absolutely run wild with. Yeah. And it's amazing. Like, it's a brilliant collaboration between players and their DMs.
Yeah, that's the thing with Mark's game that I find is that with the Violet Madness, Shadar is probably one of my most loved characters that I've ever played, but also you like you just said, you're terrified of what might happen to Damon and blah blah blah. Like, because Shadar is like, he cannot wait to die. He's that pilot in The Mummy, you know what I mean? Who's like, yes, whose friends all died, and he's like, come on boys, got jet, tell you how, and just wants to die in battle. Like, Shadar just wants to die. Like, he loves the trappings of civilization. He loves drinking wine in fancy places. He loves the fact that he's high up in the temple of the Raven Queen, and he loves the importance that gives him. He hates traveling. He, like, while he loves the swamp for all the death and entropy going on there, he hates camping. So, he enjoys life, but the best thing that could happen to him is dying in the service of the Raven Queen, and that has given me, it's taken away so much of the I don't want my character to die anxiety. And it's the only character that I'm playing right now that I will be okay with dying. Like, and I'll be like, do you know what? This is what he would have wanted. And I will be nearly a little bit happy for him if it happens. I'm not going to deliberately steer him into into the jaws of death, but yeah, and it's just, it's a weird feeling not to be, oh shit, I don't want my character to die. I don't want my character to die. Whereas it comes to Devil, I really don't want him to die because I love him.
Yeah.
But it's
and
weird.
I think you can get a situation with your characters as well where, like, you'd almost rather them just be killed than be tortured. Do you know, that way as well? It's like,
yeah.
Please don't hurt my character anymore. Just kill them. It's fine. Just don't hurt them anymore.
Yeah. That's because I think it was the second episode of the Violet Madness where Tyrion said, I think Shadar said it would be glorious to die in battle. It would be great. And Tyrion was like, well, I'm going to have to give the Raven Queen an IOU because I'm going to revivify you.
Mm-hmm.
And Shadar was like, we'll have words if that happens. And it probably will happen. And it's going to be a pretty intense scene, I'd say. But because he will not want to come back. He won't.
Karag said something interesting, but the I hit him in the face gets old sometimes. Do you guys feel that playing classes with magic like just makes you feel like you have more options?
I think that's probably why Artificer is my favorite, because it's a mixture of in your face and magic, do you know?
So, I mean, I had the same story, but I played a champion fighter human, not even variant human, just normal human champion fighter, and it was interesting to play this character surrounded by people who used magic, because he started developing a kind of almost inferiority complex because everyone can do all this amazing stuff and he's just kind of there and he's doing his thing. And then I realized those characters can be fun, because at the end of the day it's about the story you tell, and his story was about how he feels about being considered mundane in a magical world, and the struggles of feeling like that. But I do prefer magical characters.
That's where the ORP factor comes in, because like if you're playing the character who isn't super good at hits, or gets hits in but doesn't get like dramatically high damage, you can start to feel like that. And especially if the game is combat, and you're just like, so I'm always the weakest member of the party. I'll come in and I'll deal a whole 8 damage, but everyone else is doing 30 and 40 damage at a time. Yeah. So what's my point even here? But if there's a good balance of ORP, that makes up for that, because combat's only just one thing that happens and you bring something else to the party. And it's interesting to be the one who's not like as powerful as the others, or not the same as the others, that you're the not the outsider in your group, because the whole point of the group comes together, but like that you're not the same skill set necessarily as everybody else.
Yeah. And like that's ideally what the perfect party is, isn't it? Is that you'll kind of have that area of expertise where you might like Joe, you were saying that he felt a bit inferior because of all these magic people and stuff, but they all might have been sitting there going, oh shit, I can't take a slap as well as Joe's barbarian. I think we all get kind of, I know I did, especially for my first character, I got very much stuck in a rut of I can't perform like the rest of my team are.
It sucks being a new player and then looking at like the things that other people are doing and like, you can do that? And then exactly. You're like, you have a sword and you can just run at the guy and stab him. And I mean, you can do a lot more than that, but you don't really know what's available to you at that point. And then it feels like you've been handed the short end of the stick.
Yeah. When it comes to spellcasting, like Shidar was first in 5e, was the first spellcaster I've ever played, and just like I said before, it was a subclass that led me down the road of the character, and I think it was the spells, the fact that they're divinely granted, that power is divinely granted. It was an augmentation to the character, more so than I wanted to play a healer. Like Shidar, he'll heal if he has to, but he would much rather whip out the Spirit Guardians and just shred his enemies in the name of the Raven Queen and for the glory of the Raven Queen. But yeah, I just love the haughtiness and the superiority complex that clerics can have, given that like you have to work out equations to get your magic. Your magic is wild and uncontrollable, barely controllable, and it's in your blood. Mine is granted to me by a higher power, and fuck you, Spirit Guardians. And so I love the like I said, the augmentation and the just the vibe it can give to your character, and that works for all characters. You can have the wizard who is obsessed with working out these magical equations, and they're just scribbling at night, barely getting the long rests, and just trying to work out these things. So,
well, they're obsessed with fire, right, Carrick?
So
actually, something Carrick said there. I remember thinking that would be an interesting question. I'm just trying to scroll up to find it. I can't find it now.
It's about having the choice to support others. That one.
Else.
I
It
didn't.
must be way up the stream. Ignore me.
No, not at all.
Stevie D Cool says exactly what happened to me running and swinging the sword. Felt a little useless with other players casting spells, and I get that because like my character Devil now in Mark's game we're all level 12. He does massive damage, but that's like in combat, that's his thing. That's all he can do. And there are people just blasting disintegrate spells at him, chronomancy spells, and stuff like that. And he's kind of going in, okay, I'll just go frenzy rage, bam, bam, bam. And which is why I'm sort of talking, I'm considering going down the road, maybe taking a level in Warlock or something. Just for a bit of flavor in the combats, and for just weird shit to happen to him. I'm still enjoying it. But
I think
I feel I just want to just throw something else in.
yeah.
So the most fun I have ever had playing Dungeons and Dragons was a barbarian, and he didn't know any magic. It wasn't wild magic or anything. It's just a barbarian that thought he was a wizard.
Alright, Craig.
No, I mean like you shoot him with a bow or something, and then he pulls out his shield and blocks it, and then he's like, I cast shield, and like he couldn't do any of the magic stuff, but just feeling like he could. He took the shield master feat, so he could do like block for other people as well, and then the wizard's like, that's not how that works, but he's like, yes it is. and throws you with a javelin because that's a magic missile, like
the confidence of that is amazing.
Like,
I love it.
I mean, he could barely read. He picked up some wizard's spellbook and he was like, okay, I am a wizard now. And that was the most fun I've ever had in D&D because it was just hilarious.
Yeah.
And
I think sometimes people need to remember as well, though, that this is a game, right? It's meant to be enjoyable. And
sorry.
No, go on.
I found the comment and I remember what it was. It was something Karg said. He went to seal it with Karg, and the cool shit comes way down later in the line. So I'm just wondering for you, when you're making characters, do you think about the fact that, when I get this, and I was about to say rogue because it's my go-to, but when I get my rogue to level 5, I'll be able to subclass as this, and then I'll be able to go side blade or whatever. Is that a factor when you're starting, or do you just kind of go with the look, this might only last 3 or 4 sessions, so I'm just going to have something I can have fun with out the gate and not plan and build for down the road?
For me, every single character I make, all 7 million of them, I take all the way to level 20. I think about like stuff that can happen to them, like stuff that's happened in their, like they all have backstories. It's not just like little.
Yeah, but it sounds like you plotted out their front stories.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I never think that far ahead.
Like,
so I feel like I'll jinx it.
And usually it changes. Something can happen, but I mean, they always have, like, I always have a plan for them, and then if the DM throws me a curveball, great. But for example, I have a wizard that I want to play. Does have 3 levels of artificer, and he's a wizard themed around sound. So he's not a bard, but he's using like tuning forks and stuff like that to manipulate the weave through sound, and he's a
guile.
Yeah, he's a sword singer wizard, the blade singer.
Yes.
And I just take the artificer, so he can make like music boxes and stuff that make his spells. So I always take the characters all the way to level 20, know exactly what feats I'm going to take and where I'm going to put my stats, but I'm willing to curveballs from the Dungeon Master.
I wouldn't, only because, one, you never know how long the game's going to last. I've been incredibly lucky in that, like, nearly all of my games have lasted months at least. Not including one-shots and stuff, obviously. And the other reason I don't look ahead is because you could be killed off at any point. Absolutely any point.
So the Sulfuron Saga is the longest campaign I've ever played, and I always make my characters, and the first thing I think is what am I going to regret most when I die? So I always make them expecting that they're gonna die, because I do have like 40 lined up to come up behind him, but
Joe has an incredible amount of backup characters.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. He's like if Joe were an actor, he would have like 30 understudies queued out this stage entrance, because it's yeah, he keep that like we said off stream, like when you contacted me first, like I had this great idea for a character. I'm like, are you killing? Are we killing Robert off, or what's the story? It's like no. But just in case, I have this idea. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then it happened about 3 or 4 more times. I was like, okay, now I know what he's doing. That's cool.
There was a very real situation with Magnar, which I'm sure some people would be able to remember and stuff. As a couple of us actually within that one game, and I remember Jean messaging me and just saying like, I'd make a second character just in case, and I just remember being like, oh shit, this is real. This is where it gets real, kind of thing. And I think Joe's biggest regret is never getting to level 20, unfortunately.
to be fair, I think my predisposition to making a lot of characters was maybe because of the first game I ever played, where I died in like the first 20 minutes. It was a Curse of Strahd. I got smacked, critically striked by a broom, and I've fought that broom twice, and it's critically striked and killed me both times. But I got critically striked by a broom, and it
Yeah, well, so did I in Candlekeep Mysteries.
yeah, that was my story written, and then it was like, oh,
I guess you could say it was cleaning up.
Oh, can I just go back to something that Espic Bob 89 said, who is Shane, who plays Jaden. He said, going back to spellcasting and stuff like that, so my barbarian devil, he says, devil casts come here. So my barbarian, we were in like the Wizards of the Reach, I think was the arc name in the overall campaign. And so Shane plays Quinn, the wizard, who, when we were talking about character backstories, I loved like the fact that he did a lovely happy childhood, and his sister went out somewhere and went missing, and he's just gone to find her. But he had a wonderful childhood, no dead parents, no orc raids, no nothing. I was like, this is awesome. I like really love it. So we were on this flying airship, and Devil was sort of realizing that people can learn. Like Quinn learned to cast spells, so he was like, can you teach me how to cast a spell? And so Quinn, we sat down for, I think he gave him an hour or something like that. And Quinn basically says, you take this out and you do this, and then you make this somatic gesture, and it's a kind of a come here motion. And he says, you can make people just come to you. And so Devil thought this was pure magic, and he tried it with a lot of people. Some it worked on it, some it didn't. But he honestly thinks that he can do magic now.
What a troll! I love it.
But that was like, it was, yeah, and he just says there that I put him on the spot with that one, but he just came up with it like
Straight away.
no time.
Excellent.
And it was a little kind of a small hook to have fun with, like, for the thing. But there might be a moment where Devil just drops the sword in a key battle and like a boss fight and just tries it. And then, what are you doing?
This is where Devil marries the dragon and they live happily ever after. And
yeah.
Now I have so talking about you touched on Quinn there, by the way. If anyone wants to know actually a little bit more about Quinn, it's a great character. Actually, I learned quite a lot from these guys last time. It's on a previous episode of Panethea Thoughts, where we were thankfully able to talk to Shane and Dave, and we were talking about their home characters and stuff. So there's if you want to know more about Devil and Quinn and the guys there for Mark's home game, absolutely take a look at that one previous as well. The one main thing I really want to know about you guys for character wise, and this is something I thought about like as we were going along, and it's just a case of how would you honestly feel if you had a character death? I've been very lucky not to have that happen to me yet. A couple of very, very close calls, but like, do you get emotionally bonded to your characters?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes. I had a character. So Siphius's name is close to my name, which is Eusephus. And I had another character, Cephos, who was a Githyanki, like arcane fighter. And he died completely by mistake. The DM way overtuned the monster, and it killed me with its reactions from full health to nothing. And
Wow.
and afterwards he was like, I'm so sorry. And it sucked for me because it sucks when a character dies, because you have all these plans for what they're like things they need to resolve in their past and stuff like that, and it's just never going to come up now. But when that character died, I quickly wrote like a passage to the DM and said there's like a letter on me that I want you to have the other people find, because they were the party was kind of fighting, and it was like a letter that he would send to his mother to ask her for advice how to get his friends to stop fighting, and
Oh.
and that character death ended up being a story moment that brought the party together, and like death is useful in that way. But yeah, it sucks when a character dies because you can't tell his story anymore. But and I almost cried. But yeah,
No
like,
shame in that. We all get attached to the characters.
yeah.
That's a freaking loot.
That's what I spoke about earlier. Like Shadar's the only one that I will be okay with dying. Anyone else, I'll be really sad.
My home DM Roper, he's in our Discord and stuff. He'll tell you himself. Like, I've cried on many occasions, and we wasn't even dying. Like, it's just, you know, great story plot points. You know, there's nothing wrong with being invested in your character, or at least not from my perspective, anyway. Like I said, very lucky not to have a character death yet, though. So, you know, it's hard to comment on that too much. I know, Phony, you were saying like you get attached as well.
Yeah, I get attached, and I've had a few different forms, like, so both tabletop and text-based, where a character has just bitten it, like, and some of them were at the end, and it was somebody else in the comments. Arthur Trooper, he played a Forge cleric that died, but he died to save somebody else, so there was honor in it. And you can have those kind of deaths where you're like, okay, well, it sucks, my character's dead, and I'm sad about that, but at least they went out really well. Blaze of Glory or doing something really good. And then you have times where it's just, you know, rolls of the dice were just bad, and your death save rolls were bad, and your character just dies. Didn't particularly go out in a blaze of glory, just died.
Doesn't that really like play a huge part in how you feel about your character's death? Whether you feel like, well, if you as a player feel like, well, that actually, it shouldn't happen that way because I don't agree with the ruling, or I don't agree with, you know, how the DM handled, so, you know, the encounter or something like that. So there's, you know, that's the thing. Now, luckily, it's, you know, it happened to me once back when I was like 16 or something. But, you know, if the character dies in the perfect game circumstances, I think it's a little bit easier to handle than if you disagree with maybe the ruling.
It's easier, but it's also like I've had tables where, so, you know, you'd be on death rolls, it's all very dramatic, and then somebody fails the death roll, and then like that table's DM was just like, okay, look, we're gonna retcon that, we're just gonna, you know, like, and you don't die, or your character is revived or something. And that for me on that particular campaign, like I didn't lose total interest. The campaign fizzled eventually, but I did, there was no then sense of peril. Like at the end of the day, if you roll nat ones constantly in a battle, like no matter how well you're statted and no matter what the DM does for you, the dice god spoke. Like it was just bad luck on the day. You're exploring a cave system full of monsters. It's risky, and if there's not an element of, you know, there are consequences if you decide to have your character foolishly split from the party and run into danger, then it for me it takes away from it then, because you're like, okay, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
to a degree. And yeah, it's easier to accept the death if it's, you know, Blaze of Glory, or if there's it was something meaningful. But it still sucks and is sad because yeah, you get so attached to them and they're living in your head and you're living in their head every session, you know. So there's a period where you just have to sort of let yourself be sad that that character's gone, and then roll up another one and
That's okay.
move on.
When Robert died and I knew Jean didn't have Revivify prepared, I was like, I was
You guys had
bummed.
the scroll though, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we did.
Scroll.
Yeah.
I was bummed because I didn't want to because the only thing I could think about when Robert died was his mother, and that's the only thing Robert really cares about, and like she's not gonna know because they're not gonna be able to tell her, and that sucked for me, but I wouldn't be too hurt if Robert dies. Not because I don't like Robert. I very much love Robert. It's just the character I have lined up behind Robert.
I like him more.
I like him so much more. He's just the best thing ever. But like that's okay because Robert is also a character that I'm not finished exploring.
Yeah, when you guys found that scroll of Revivify with a question mark, it was, you know, it was with some really good investigation rolls because I was like, you have like a minute. What? Yeah, it's a minute for Revivify, and I was like, yeah, grand. So do what you need to do, and it was there, because I knew, as a DM, I knew it was going to be a particularly hard fight. And also as a DM, I knew that I wanted to explore this Dark Passenger idea, which Robert now has. So for anyone that doesn't watch the Saffron Saga, basically, they killed a hag, and they brought Robert back from the dead, and a part of her came with him and now lives in Robert's head.
When you said that, by the way, I was thinking, should I multi-class into Hex? Like, no, I don't want to.
But as the journey goes on, the relationship will become a little bit
more strained.
Well, no, I think it might become, you guys might get to like each other.
Oh yeah. I mean, Robert is Robert to me right now. Just he reminds me of in Spider-Man 3 when Spider-Man has the symbiote and he starts like doing the whole dance. Like that's what Robert is to me now. Just like occasionally he gets more dark urges that might have come from his past of being severely bullied and never having expressed those urges then. Having repressed those feelings then, they're surfacing now. But yeah, like death is weird.
Yeah, it is, and the mechanic that then I gave to Robert was that he has a bunch of, you know, the way the chat grant 1d4 blesses. The longer the hag is in his head, he has a bunch of 1d4 banes that he has to give out to people that he considers as friends, and that amount will increase as time goes on. So if he has 5 of them and he deals out 2 of them, at the day's end when the sun goes down, he will take damage in the form of the ones he didn't use.
Oh wow, okay.
So
interesting.
He has to sort of, and as a DM, I found it really funny to see him. There are times as a player you've taken sheer delight in the ones in some of the ones that you've dished out, and it's been really funny to watch. So just going back, did you see what Shane said there? Sorry.
What's that?
Just about Quinn.
Was fully set up to sacrifice Quinn during the climax of his arc battle. Thought about it for a week. Super emotional. Absolutely.
I mean, it's like sacrificing a character for the greater good must be amazing.
Yeah, and like that particular moment I had with Magnar was very much that situation as well. Was I'm doing this to protect my friends, so therefore it matters. Do you know, that kind of way? And like Fona said, it's definitely an easier way to deal with a character death. It still hurts, absolutely, but it's an easier way to do it, kind of thing. And I've said to Joanna, I've actually said it to I think nearly every DM that I've had through games and stuff, is look, if it makes sense narrative wise, as in like, I don't know, Damon's surrounded by 3 freaking dragons and the rest of the group are like half a mile down the road, you know, it makes sense that he's gonna fucking die. Like it, like I'm gonna be upset about it, but I don't want the story to suffer because of my connection to a character. Do you know, that way? I'd rather it grow because of that connection. So I think that's definitely a thing to think about.
Also, so one of my concerns, or one of my ongoing worries, is that like Scales is going to die because Scales just keeps wandering off and poking his fingers in dangerous things. But I'm not going to change Scales to make him stop doing that so that he won't die. Like it's part of his character. He's going to get distracted by stuff. And
yeah, but as a DM, I'm not going to kill him for it.
Yeah, but if he wanders down a cave and gets attacked, split from the party, like those are the consequences. You hope it doesn't happen, but like the character still has to do what the character's going to do. Like, you just
but also, you know, Scales is learning as well. Like
slowly.
You know, slowly, definitely. But you know, it's like so I can't see that happening, but we'll see.
When I made Robert, the way that I thought that if he was gonna die, the way he's probably gonna die is he's gonna try to disarm a trap and it's gonna blow up in his face and he's gonna die, like most of my rogues have.
And if a warding, I can cancel that out.
Oh my god, let's not talk about the glyphs of warding. Fucking hell.
So I mean, like, and because I'm the rogue, I'm gonna have to be the one to do that stuff because I have the expertise.
But I mean, I remember you guys were at level 3 of the mine, and like it was like Jaden was walking up, going, "Oh, what's this?" And he's just like looking at the glyph of warding, and the other guy is looking, and I forget, I think he said it in a sing-song voice, and you're like, something like, maybe wait for the rogue who can check for traps, because they were all just like blasting ahead, like blew up 2 glyphs of warding, and then you're like 60 feet back going, "Oh, that doesn't sound good. Oh, that doesn't sound good." And they're like, you're like, dude, you have someone in the party that can find this shit out for you.
But the best of all is when I actually got my chance to do that, I didn't spot the glyph of warding and it blew up in my face.
But
listen, I've got one more question for you guys for this evening, because I feel like this is an important one. It's actually one I'm intrigued to know as well. Is death saves, should they be open to everyone to see, or should they be secret?
Players, I think.
And depends on the game as well. Like if you're in a grimdark setting, I think the secret roles are the to DM roles. Add a level to it, and it's good for the setting. But there's other games where you're just like, yeah, look, this isn't a grimdark setting. Let's just have them on the table.
Unfortunately, if it's on stream, I think it has to be out there in the roles, because the people who are watching the stream, they need to see it, I think.
I mean, we're very lucky with our players that we've got for Penny Dragon. Like I watch nearly every stream. Obviously the ones I'm not in.
Andy's a secret.
See, that's the thing, is like, normally I would say I prefer the secret one because it stops metagaming. But that's what I was going to say, was the players that we've got in all of the games are very non-metagaming, which is just phenomenal. To have found this amount of players, like I watched, like, you know, other streams and stuff on Twitch playing D&D, and it's like metagaming like constantly, and I'm just like, how can that be that we've just happened to found a whole group of people that just don't do that kind of thing? Now there'll be the occasional like small little thing like, "Oh, don't you have a potion of healing?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, actually I do." I don't consider that kind of metagaming, but like having the roles out there and then someone going, "Oh well, I'm running past these 6 people to go and save that one person because he's on second death save." that's kind of shit, and we don't have that, and I'm very thankful for that actually from our community that we don't have that, because it's
I
so
feel like
much
it would be called
easier
out
to
to
play.
So-
Eric as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So when I'm playing a home game, I prefer them to be secret. I roll it to the DM and don't try to not react in a way that gives it away.
Yeah.
Because that does add a level of suspense for the other players that they can't, I feel, emulate when they know what the role is. Because I mean, even like it's that aspect of the unknown that makes them worried.
That's I think where the
That's what I love about the secret death saves. But yeah, as long as the players don't, meta game, it's fine. I feel my personal biggest example of having meta gamed before that I know of is I knew a vampire was weak to acid, and I used acid without my character knowing that it would be weak to acid. But that
But I think the metagaming
Awesome.
goes across it though. Sorry,
Yeah, no, cool.
Sorry, Joe. Like one of the scenes from Saffron that always sticks with me is, and I can't even remember which episode or which battle, but basically we're on some long thing and Scales had thought everyone down this end is now beaten, so he starts running that way. And at the same time, Jaden had seen something and he's running that way. And the two of them just run past each other and kind of go, "Where are you going?" And then they keep going. And
Yeah.
that's because I knew the fight was going to be down there, but Scales didn't. So it makes sense for Scales to have turned around and run back that direction. So it's that across the board, not metagaming. It's like, stick with what your character knows, and you didn't hear that conversation, so you're not in the loop until somebody loops you in, so you can't, and it's a temptation. And I think secret roles definitely help with that urge to go, oh, I better go save that person, or my character better notice that they're about to totally croak it. If you don't have that temptation in front of you, no matter how disciplined you are, it's very easy for it to seep in there and affect how you're going to act.
I think Ryan hit the nail on the head there with the quality of the players in the Penny Dragon stream. I think it's that, like, we're all aware of how lucky we are to play with such great other players, and nobody wants to be that person to sort of, to attempt to break the game that way and let the other players down. That, like, everyone else being a great player spurs everyone else on to do better. And that's the thing I love possibly the most about our community.
Would you guys be okay if I asked one more question? It's not necessarily character creation related, but more a result of playing your characters. Just because I'm interested.
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
what has been your favorite moment of one of your characters?
Oh, damn.
Like where you felt the most like you were playing the character.
I've got two. Unfortunately, they're both for the home game though.
Mm-hmm.
First one was, so my female gnome artificer, 3'7", fuck all to her kind of thing. She's like a slight little girl, not a girl. You know what I mean? She's small and stuff. First one was. Now, this is going to sound strange out of context because you don't know the story, but she basically told Asmodeus to fuck off. And when Bahamut come over to talk to her, he knelt down to talk to her rather than her look up. That was an incredible moment for me. My DM fucking knocked it out of the park. Excuse me. Just amazing. Just so good. The other one was, so this was actually, what's today? Thursday. Yeah. This was actually in last night's game, strangely enough. We have a character in the game who is essentially I hope he doesn't mind me telling you these things. I hope he doesn't. She's essentially a direct angel from Ao. And for anyone in the chat and stuff know, I know Tom would know and stuff because Tom's got a fucking great mind for
Oh my God.
knowing stuff. Ao is, for one, the god of one of the pantheons. Like he's the god as such. He created all the other
prime
gods.
deity.
Oh, exactly. So she's a direct angel for her, and my character is true chaotic. My Solvi, she's truly chaotic, and she treats everyone equal. It doesn't matter if you're a god or if you're a pauper. She treats you equal, and she walked straight up to her and just held out her hand and was like, "Hi, you know, nice to meet you," kind of thing. Like there was no bones about, "Oh, you're an angel." Look, she didn't care. It's like, "Hey, how you doing?" So I think they're probably two of my most favorite moments, for sure.
Dave?
Shadar's moment where he thought the three hags were his three sisters
Oh yeah,
was one of the most intense moments I've ever had as a player. And I know Mark did that on purpose. I think he's still here. Basically, part of Shadar's backstory is that he is the youngest of four. He had three sisters who were triplets, and they were sort of groomed by a hag, or some sort of, hag is a sort of collective term, or a sort of a way to describe her. And she convinced them to help her in her plan to unearth every dead body in the graveyard, which then hunted down everyone it was related to. So you would have like grandfathers seeking out fathers seeking out their sons, mothers seeking out their, and they would like kind of unerringly go for whoever they were related to, whoever their descendants were. And he escaped, however he escaped, but his three sisters were sort of like singing, singing how they would kill him, how they'd murder him and stuff like that when he eventually escaped through a portal. And it turns out that we were just facing a trio of hags, but Mark played it in such a way that Shadar was, I was convinced, and Shadar was convinced that they were his triplet sisters, and it took a good length of the combat to establish that they weren't. But it was really intense.
I think that was the first game I did with you guys for TVM.
Yeah, it was.
And I remember, like, as a secondary player, feeling like the shook of you dealing with that kind of thing. It was kind of that intense. That was pretty cool.
Because they were doing the sing-song thing as well. Like they were like, "We know who you are. We know everything about you." Blah blah blah. And I was like, and it was so reminiscent of Shadar's backstory. I was like, fucking hell, like we're like what, 5 sessions in, and already there's major backstory stuff happening, and it was just like, yeah, it was, turns out it wasn't, but it was like, put the shits up me. So that was one of them. And then Shadar at a moment by himself in the inn, which I enjoyed doing as well.
Just going to the chat there very quickly before we move on to Fona and Joe. Seeing a couple of the comments there. We have Richard said, "My character Luca crying, standing over the downed paladin Magnar to protect him." The first time it was very sad, and then since then it just seems to become this thing where Luca's just like standing on top of Magnar anytime he's on the ground, which I think is so brilliant to protect us. Carrick said, "I feel Craig's family bit could have been great if I wasn't drawing blanks myself on what to say and do." Now I have to say, like, I felt it was very much in character for Craig, that he was just kind of like, I don't know, kind of thing. I at the time I felt it was very much in character, so I thought it was brilliant personally. And then, oh yeah, the uncle, Carrick's uncle, who we need to deal with at some point, who we don't have no idea who it actually is. That's going to be funny. So Fona, would you like to answer the question? And then
I'll stick to the Penny Dragon ones because people might be familiar with it. But I suppose for Andy, it was when she wanted to adopt the Grimishka. because it was playing on a part of her that she's awkward with people and she loves animals. So she doesn't see this as a really feckin' bad idea. It's just, oh, of course, it's basically a kitty cat and I want to keep it. And then for Scales, it has to be when you pull the plug. Like, because we're in the middle of a battle, he's basically sought shelter behind a cliff face and there's a giant plug there, and rather than think about it, he's just like, oh yeah, I'm pulling that plug out to see what happens.
Can I tell you about the plug?
Yeah.
That was 100%. That was just a weird thing that Kate from It's a Map included in the map that I had no plan for. And you were like, oh, what's this? And I was like, oh shit. And then you're like, I'm gonna pull it out. And I was like, okay, cool. So it was near, well, it wasn't. It was in the same mountains as the place of power that Fenara just found. So it had that link to the black goop. So I was like, okay, maybe, this has got something to do with that thing that, that the people that are after Fenara and they're after the key has to do it. But I had to make that up on the spot. That whole thing, because because she just put a plug in. The slime plug, yeah.
Like I say,
it was peak Scales, and it was fucking awesome.
And any other character I've ever played would have maybe seen it and would have done a bit of investigation and would have asked questions about it and would have been like, should I, what should we do with this? They wouldn't have just gone, I'm just going to heave on this chain and because I want to.
It was a DC like 21 strength or something like that, and you got it like. It was because I was like, I'll just make the DC really hard, and then you were like, okay, Grant, bam,
natural 20.
And it was pure. It was peak Scales. It was wonderful.
So those would be mine.
So come on then, Joe. You asked the question. You better answer it now.
The moment that I felt the most that I was playing the character properly, was one of them was with Robert, when I was like 4 turns ahead thinking of like, those rocks are going to be right here, I think. Like, I'm going to do the math. If you go back and watch the bot, I'm like measuring with my Roll20 thing, like the rocks are going to be exactly there so I can run across the canyon to get to the other side.
I remember watching it and being like, wait, he's not going to jump that, is he? He's just like...
It was amazing.
And
it was fucking really cool stuff. You just can't say no.
And I mean, it was there, and Robert's really, like, it felt like I was playing Robert, because he's supposed to be like, his mind works at 1,000 miles a minute, and he could just do that math and just time slows down as he's running over it kind of effect.
Just gone full beautiful mind kind of thing.
Exactly.
I remember him asking me these questions about, like, map wise and movement wise, how fast are the boulders moving? And I'm just like, I don't know, what, fucking 60 feet around? I don't know. Because it was obviously hugely important to you, but I didn't get that. So I was like, I don't know, 60 feet around. And I just threw it out there, and then he was like, "Okay, Grant." And then you could see the mind working. When I watched back, I could see it working, but I was too busy.
And the other time was the off-stream moment where I was playing a wild magic sorcerer who was an old man, and he was kind of just senile, and that's why his magic was wild. and we went into a vampire's lair, and I like slipped on the stair and scratched my knee open, and then it was like just me against the vampire, and vampire ran up to me, and I just started throwing up fire, like dragon's breath acid, but I did extended spell, so it's just like puking acid against the wall. And that was just a great moment for me. But yeah,
awesome. We've got a question there from Stevie D. Cool. How do you guys approach world building and creating the campaigns as DM? Now, I will say, I know for stream wise we haven't had Fona and Joe DM, and Dave would be the only DM here within this group. But I don't want to answer that question right now. And sorry about that, Stevie, but the reason I don't want to answer that question right now is because I'd actually like to do, for our next Penny for Your Thoughts, I was thinking about getting in just DMs because I wanted to talk about NPC creation, how you integrate them into the world, and also talk about your creative process. I know we've gone over it briefly through different games and stuff where we've had DMs on, but I'm hoping to get a more concise episode with just DMs essentially. So
Richard and Craig on, definitely.
In case you guys are wondering, I do DM every Wednesday. I do a Waterdeep Dragon Heist, but it's a home game.
Cool. You should do it on stream, dude.
Yeah,
I could see if I could get my players to be interested in that, but
Or just do it for us.
yeah. Can you imagine the amount of characters you'd see in the street? You'd be like, that one's name's George, that one's name's Bob, that one's name's Richard. Oh, that one. Oh, yeah.
So,
you have no
I
idea
mean,
about that one.
to be fair, I do write a comic. I've been writing a comic for like 4 years. I haven't gotten around to drawing it, but it's written for the most part, and I'm always looking for new characters to put in there. So whatever I don't use in D&D does go in there. So
They're not lost. But I'll put my hand up and say I don't DM. I'm so far anyway strictly a player.
yeah, I don't have the confidence to DM on stream. I'm still very like it's the first game I DM and stuff like that. But I know the game, but I just I'm not.
I'm the proper kind of idiot that goes and does his first time DMing on stream, like a fool.
That was a great one shot though.
The story was there. I definitely should have learned how to use Roll20 a bit better, and it was only that good, like I said, because of Juan at the time. So I'm very thankful to him for that.
That man is a saint, like, because like,
Absolutely.
when I agreed with Michaela to do Software or Terrible Trouble in Templetown, as it was called back then, I had like Mark gave me a bit of a steer, but then Sean did a one-on-one call with me, like for like 45 minutes, like showing me everything. I was like, the guy didn't know me from Adam, like, and he was still, he still wanted to help. Like, he was the first one. He was like, oh yeah, cool, just give me a shout and we'll do it. Like, he didn't have to do it, so I really, really appreciated it.
Every time I
he was
hear
in my game.
every time I hear Terrible Trouble in Templetown, I think Tantalizing Temptation in Templetown.
Yeah. And that's the thing I love about Robert is that, like, when you guys get to Software on, I like, obviously there's no inside portrait photography, but he will be recognized because he's a hugely popular author. And like, as soon as you get to Software on Capital City, you're going to check in with your agent and all the rest of it. And Robert will be living the high life. And
Bob,
he's
Bob
kind of a big
says-
deal.
I want us all to get invited to the book launch party.
Yeah.
Shame.
I have an idea for where you guys are going to be invited to, like, the ambassador's residence. I just can't wait to see what Scales gets up to there.
Shane said that's Robert's next book title, Tantalizing Temptation in Templeton. Actually, that was Robert's first book title after the very first stream.
What was the book title where the two guys are always behind enemy lines? Was it?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So behind enemy lines is it's a story about it's based on Robert's army days when he had to cuddle up with his orc like companion. They're like scouts that go deep and look at enemy movements and stuff. And it was really cold and they couldn't light a fire to stay warm because they would get spotted. So they had to like cuddle up to stay warm. And it's like him and this 500-pound orc just going like.
So you were the warm one.
This is nice.
But then he ends up writing a tasteful but erotic novel based on that called Behind Enemy Lines. And,
as Carrick says, Orcback Mountain.
Yeah.
Yes, Carrick, I'm also waiting to see when we read our story and see who he has paired from our party together.
And it's not just book titles; it's like little paragraphs. I'm not going to write a whole book, but I send Dave little paragraphs that he has to read.
Yeah, I love them. And you haven't done it in a while, but I love them. They're awesome.
We haven't had like a moment to sit down in an inn.
Yeah.
Just to give a shout out as well, like as Carrick has put in the chat, he did actually run a one-shot for us Fellowship crew. I think we were without Jean one day, or one of the lads anyway, and he ran a one-shot we were recording though rather than streaming, and unfortunately for whatever reason, Richard's audio recording went to shit, and we didn't have any audio of it, so we couldn't show it on stream. But it was a good game. He ran a good game.
According to Richard, ye tortured him good.
Oh, we did. We were like, oh, you know, this is what you should be doing as a DM, and like, you know, oh, that was it. That was the best moment actually from that, was he created this legendary resistance, which was fuck off Richard, because Richard just kept messing with his plans with everything he was doing, and it was so funny. But hopefully we get Carrick doing a proper one shot one day.
Yeah, 100%.
Not a proper one because it was a proper one, but you know what I mean, one on stream.
One on stream, yeah.
Exactly.
So I've been playing around with the idea of a not low magic, but low magic D&D campaign set in the world of Vaste, but
On
yeah.
stream?
I don't know. I'd try it. Yeah, I would try it as a one shot.
I was terrified about doing a game on stream, and I just said fuck it.
Yeah, I would try it. I would try it just to see how it goes, and if it works out well, if it's something I enjoy, I'll probably do another.
See, that's the thing I did with my one shot, was I had this story that was just clawing at my head, like, you need to tell me, like, tell this story, please. And I was just like, fine, whatever, I'll do that. Story seemed to go down quite well. I will say there is a part 2.
Awesome.
It's currently in the works. I know where it needs to go. So yeah, that should be, well, it will be coming up in future. We'll see when though. And we also, now we've obviously got our full long list of games: Fellowship of the Fallen, Sovereign Saga, Rime of the Frost Maiden, TVM or the Violet Madness, the Cloaks of Mindhound, the Churn game. We got some really awesome games, but we've also got some nice ones coming, haven't we?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll be doing Tales from the Radiant Citadel on, I believe we've got, it's once a month on a Thursday. So we have Candlekeep, we have Rime, we have Penny for Your Thoughts, and then I'll be doing Radiant Citadel on the other Thursday.
Well, Rime is 2 Thursdays a month. You'll be doing one then with Radiant, and then there'll be one for Candlekeep. So essentially, the idea behind Penny for Their Thoughts originally was just to kind of fill in gaps when people weren't available, and to create sessions. Now, that's not to say that we can't make a more permanent time for Penny for Your Thoughts.
Yeah, we'll have a chat about that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, my bad. I thought it was going regular.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it will be, but it's a case of we're working at kind of which day. So there will, obviously, as long as everyone wants it, there will be more Penny for Your Thoughts.
100%.
And absolutely looking forward to these new games coming up. And again, for anyone watching, so tomorrow, Friday, we've got the Churn Gang back again. Absolutely need to watch that one, because that's going to be pretty disastrous, as in it's going to be a good game to watch, kind of disastrous is what I mean. And then Saturday, DM with the DM Dave, should I say, is what I was going to say, with the charity game there for D8 Dungeon in aid of remind me again,
Planned
Dave?
Parenthood.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to raise €1,000 or $1,000, I'm not sure, for Planned Parenthood. We all know what's going on across the water, and where I'm more than I always take on too much stuff, and I was watching the D8 Dungeon thing, and they're like, well, we're running the stream. I was like, well, I'm going to do that because it's a good cause. So yeah,
absolutely.
So
I don't know what that is.
It's going to be good fun.
What's going
on? It's an all day event. The D8 stream is an all day event. I think Ben Cloaks, Mindhelm, Ben is doing one as well. I'm playing in a different one again. So if you're into D or role play anyway, it's a whole day event.
Mad stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
So Saturday, D8 Dungeon Twitch stream is the place to be. If you can, guys, you donate a little bit, a lot, you know, it all helps. Absolutely helps.
Oh, should have Frodo saying drop a link for
Um,
donating. I don't have it right now, but if you look on Twitter for D8 Dungeon, or I think on Instagram for D8 Dungeon, you'll find them. It's going for the whole weekend. It's Friday. It's Friday and Saturday. I'm doing the
Okay.
last one Saturday 9:45.
Which I'm going to be there with you for.
Yeah, you're
I'm
you're
gonna be
be
helping
playing.
you.
I can't wait to see people react to your character. It's such a great idea, and so timely.
It's very timely, but I will say possible spoilers for certain big TV or Netflix shows at the moment. So if you haven't seen those bigger ones that have been out of late, it might not be a good place to watch.
It's gonna be good fun. There we go. Oh, should have found Twitter/D8 Dungeon, and you'll find your way to there are links for Planned Parenthood there, which is a top charity.
I just thought of a new character.
Go on, give us a quick rundown. Which one's this?
It would be a beast barbarian Kensei monk that uses his beast claws as Kensei weapons.
Nice.
Okay, so that's enough from Joe tonight then.
Yeah,
But it's also
Um,
but it's also a dampier, so it could get a +10 on its bite and heal for 30
oh
hit
my
points.
God. Okay.
Jesus.
Wow, okay.
Do you know, actually, Vivian in the Rhyme game, she's playing a Dampier, and it's the first time I've actually seen it played on stream. So I'm incredibly, like, I'm watching her, like, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? I want to know what this character can do. So that's pretty cool.
So I just want to say, if it's a beast
Richard just
barbarian,
threw it in there.
they get claws, and if they attack, they can use one of their. They can make another attack just extra as part of the action. So if you're a monk, you can attack 4
Oh,
times
Jesus.
from level
And it's
5.
a magical weapon, right?
I have level 6. Well, level 6 of monk. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like,
So
Wow.
Richard just threw the link in there. You can click that if you want to donate. And in my game, I'm going to do the similar thing that we do for Penny Dragon Games. A €3 donation to Planned Parenthood will give any player a 1d4 bless. So a max stat or guidance, max stack for 3. But it'll be good fun. I'm looking forward to it. Mine's called Portrait of a Lady, 9:45.
Absolutely. Now,
I think I'm on a 215 for a Brindlewood Bay
Nice.
Murder
I've
Mavens.
I've seen the
I'm
synopsis
gonna-
for that. It looks awesome.
who's your DM for that?
Amber, telepathic narwhal. She plays
Yeah.
in the D8 games.
Yeah, I've seen her as well. She seems like she'd put a good story together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
played.
see.
I played last year on the Charlie stream last year in a Loot Grannies one. So it was good fun. So it should be good fun again.
Thinking of
Hopefully we'll
Luke
be-
Grandies, all I can think of is Little Britain.
Yeah.
Want a bit of bitty, you know.
Our very own Carrig is on at 6:30, and he's playing in Ben's Spelljammer game as well.
Oh, I'm excited for that one actually because
Yeah, me too.
obviously Spelljammer being new out, I want to see what Ben does with this because
Yeah,
Ben's
me too.
very creative that way.
I love Ben. He's one of the best DMs.
I so badly want to play in the Eberron campaign. It's not even funny.
Reprobate Gamers is Ben, who played Kobu and Vibrance is also So Ben, Homebrew Ben is also running the game. Sorry, Joe.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
I
I
think-
want to see that. I want to see him as a DM because he was great as a player.
Oh well, dude, like check out Homebrew Quest every Tuesday. Unfortunately, you're doing something on Tuesdays. It's probably why you
that's
haven't seen
probably- Yeah, that's probably why I haven't yet. I'll have to catch
Yeah.
up with that for sure.
He's really good.
What's that? We have two artificers for this one. Yeah, wow. I'm definitely gonna have to watch that then, aren't I? See if they can do any better than me. Damon will come for you.
Actually, I just have that sparked a question. Just I'll squeeze it in at the end. Have you ever played in like say at a convention where you don't get to make your own character, you're handed a character sheet, and how do you adapt to that? Because as we spoke earlier about getting into your own character's mind space and playing it somewhat true to the character, like if you're the ditzy secretary in a Cthulhu game, like, and you have 5 minutes to prep for that, like how do you get in that mindset?
Luck.
Yeah.
I find luck. Yeah, I played a Cthulhu game where I was the 75-year-old hieroglyphics expert in a Cthulhu game who had flashes of lucidity, but the thing I was told to do was role play like 75% of the time. You are insane, but they know that they're going to sit you in front of the hieroglyphics for 24 hours, and there'll be someone beside you with a notepad, and so but he would like just come out with these intense and cutting observations of people, and they were like, is this him lucid or is this him still bananas? And it was good fun. So like, yeah, just look. For me anyway, it worked out.
Now that I'm not in the hot seat anymore, I just thought of like, I just remembered the biggest thing when I'm making a character, the most important thing I think about is I give them the biggest old butt you have ever seen. Like, like this guy's a paladin, but he worships himself and no god. This guy is a dampier, but he's a fruit bat, not a vampire bat. So his essence is fruit. He's like, he's like biting into oranges in a vampire, like a over the top Dracula way, like bites into oranges.
I thought you meant butt, B-U-T-T.
Yeah, that's what I.
Yeah, that's what I thought at
I was
first.
like, what?
Yeah, I mean,
There's characters walking around with massive trunks, like
Yeah.
just
Like, it'll kind of be
yeah,
hard
yeah,
to be a rogue.
yeah,
but
yeah.
okay.
It's exactly. It's this big trunk that they're carrying around that makes them not
awesome.
what they're supposed to be. Robert literally has Rob in
That's
his
a really
name
great idea.
and doesn't steal
Character.
anything.
for in answer to the question, I haven't played any like cons or anything like that where I've had to been given a character and stuff, but as Arctic Troopers puts there, put Jiminy. So obviously we were meant to run Violet Madness there on Sunday, wasn't able to. So Mark ran me and Andy through Call of Cthulhu, and to make things quicker, it was like, here's your sheets kind of thing. And I was like, okay, so I picked this character who was an artist and called him Jiminy. Don't know why, first name come to my head. And
Like the Suzuki?
Or he played
yeah, I
cricket.
guess. Yeah, I was thinking more like Jiminy Cricket, you know,
Cricket.
like
Oh, yeah,
from
yeah, of
Pinocchio. And like me and Dave have spoken about this a lot. Is that I'm very much a person for inclusivity. You know, absolutely, we need to, you know, establish that every single person is welcome here. It doesn't matter your state, like race, sex, age, none of that. It doesn't matter. Come and play. So I like to try and play characters that might be a little different for whatever reason.
D&D's for everyone.
Exactly. Not to disrespect them, but hopefully to bring them into the fold. Do you know, that way? So Jiminy,
Representation.
yeah, exactly. It was probably annoying to Andy and Mark, but I went for it anyway, and essentially I gave him a stutter. So he was this very creative person, but he wasn't good at talking to people, you know. So and again, I do that trying to get across.
I grew up with a stutter, so I know what it's like to live with it and get over it, and to get to where you are. So, yeah.
But just to put that, I do these things, and like the things I give other characters and stuff. Like I had a character that had vitiligo, which you know, we didn't get to because we didn't get through it. It was for Mark's one shot. I do it out of respect. I don't do it to make fun. Do you know, that way? But I like to do it because I like to show I don't care. Like if you want to play the game, come and play the game, please. Come and
look
play
at
the
how
game.
Matt Mercer played. Was it Orly?
Yeah.
The
Perfect.
turtle. It was like and because again Matt Mercer, like he grew up with a stutter as well, and so he played it the way it was just the M's and certain words, and you know, when I'm DMing and when I'm playing, still there are still words that catch me out, and I still stammer and get stuck in them. And you look back over my streams with that in mind, you'll probably spot them more often than you would if I hadn't said that. So like, yeah, I was the kid in school who had like a really bad stutter, and there was no, like, my parents couldn't afford speech therapy, so it was like, just work it out yourself, and I did. But there are days when it's bad, like, still, and there are days, you know, when it's okay. But you still go into every social here it goes again, interaction, and worrying about it. And when I talk about it, it kicks in a bit more. So, you know, yeah, I love that you did that in an inclusive way, and because a lot of people, you know, well, not like some people might have done it for comedic effect.
Oh yeah,
And you
no,
didn't.
It's
And I
not to laugh at
appreciate
it.
that.
It's
And
out
I
of
love it. Yeah.
it's out of love, for
we're
lack
out
of a
here.
better term.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I everything I do is out of respect and love for the community as a whole. Not, and when I say community, I don't mean just D&D. I mean the fucking world. Like, we're all in this together. You know, none of us are getting off of this starship fucking easily. Maybe Elon Musk, but then, like, you know, it's off you go.
It was Amon Trask in Remedy Feist book said no one gets out of life alive.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I mean,
Trask, yeah.
a comment I use quite a lot, which is obviously from Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is like, you know, so long and thanks for all the fish. Like, there is no situation where that happens. We're here together. So absolutely, I want everyone to be involved if they can be. And the more games that we can watch and the more games we can get played, absolutely.
Yeah, and the more people we can include, you know, you guys and girls watching, you know, in chat, we want more people jumping in on these streams. So if, you know, if Joe's going to run a stream, anyone feels like, oh, you know, I'd like to play, but I'm worried about going on stream. Not saying just do it, but like I was terrified about running a game on stream, and then I said, you know what, I'd rather do it and fuck it up than in 20 years' time wonder would I've done a good job.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I did it.
Absolutely.
Even if,
and
like,
you get better. You do. I've seen you get better. I've seen, like, you, and I'm not saying that it wasn't good at the beginning. I'm just saying, but you see how you as a DM, players, you see the confidence build, and
so
I love it.
to having
really love
like
it.
people around your table, because when you're around, when I have people in my kitchen, I can lean into them and play a character and drag them. If I can see a tension wane, or I'm not playing this character enough tension, or this character enough tension, I can lean in and I can go, right, I need to bring this person back in. It's so much harder on stream, and that's a skill that I've had to learn, to try and, you know, look at each box and go, you know, this person is, you know, sort of yawning, and that, you know, that might not mean like kind of mean anything, but I need to be aware of you know, have I focused the story too much on one character, and just to include everyone. So yeah, it's a weird thing to have to learn.
I've had DMs like message me and be like, oh, I'm sorry, you're like kind of sitting back and having to watch this because it might be somebody else's plot point and stuff, and I'm just sitting there like, oh no, I'm great, I'm enjoying watching this. Like, I'm enjoying watching them play as much as I'm enjoying playing with them, kind of thing. Do you know that way?
I think I said this to, I think it was Stephen who plays Soterian, that there is when it's not like, so in our home game with Mark, we're in the middle of the Bard Strings' arc. So he's a Warforged Bard who is the most innocent and wonderful character, because he logged on one day, like he just powered up one day, no idea where he came from, what his history is, but there's a king after him, and he's all these skills and he can play, but the innocence that he has is like, my character loves him for it, because like Devil has had to murder people. It's what he does in this part of, you know, it's his function in the group, and he loves Strings for how innocently good he is, and he loves Trax, which is Stephen, who also playing a paladin, and he loves Trax for how righteously and divinely good he is. And it turns out that now the Warforged Bard Strings is also, there's some sort of assassin personality that's in him as well, so they're sharing a body, and it's just come out,
right?
And we're like, oh my god. So it's anyway, mind blowing stuff. I forget the whole point of what we were talking about, but it's just, Anyway, there you go.
It's that's I've said it so many times at this point. I'm probably sounding like a broken record, but I love the narratives that people create, the DMs, the players, because the DMs are nothing without the players, and the players are certainly nothing without the DMs. You know?
Yeah, I think
So
Aaron gave Mark a lot of the control over the backstory. He was like, Strings doesn't know a lot about where he came from,
yeah,
and then Mark was like, yeah, no problem. Watch
I had
this. Yet
that
again, Mark is just like just brilliant.
It reminds me, I had a character I played who was a reborn, and his whole thing that it was like stitched together from like 6 different people, and he has all of their memories, but he doesn't know who he is among them. So I had it. So I told the DM, like, you can throw me, like, this is the characters. One of them's a cultist, one of them's a mother, like, and just there you go, do what you want. And that was amazing. And I only got to play that character for 3 sessions.
I'd say that
And
must have been so much fun.
it was incredible because every time I would do a check, and if I get like a natural 20, he'd be like, you're reminded of a time when you were a child and you were in school, and you were doing like gymnastics kind of thing, and you had to jump over the horse. And as I run up to it and jump, and then he says do the dex save, and I'm like 16 and I clear it, and it's like you jump over it and you're flying, you're soaring. And I was like, this dungeon master, who is this guy? it was just
amazing.
It was just the best thing ever. But that also arose out of a thing like being like, I made the character, it's there, but you know what is my backstory, I don't. Like, that was a unique experience, and I really loved it. I'm sorry, I just thought about that.
No, that was amazing. I'm really, like, I'd love to hear more.
D&D
Sadly,
is the
there
best.
isn't more because
You have to bring it back for another
Yeah,
game.
man, Jesus, like
I
that's
had
it,
to
that you
I had to
can't let that
wake
go.
up at 1 a.m. to play that game because it was an American game on a Wednesday,
wow.
and I was the only player that was there every session.
Aw. Unfortunately,
I love players
that
like you.
happens, but luckily we haven't had that too much on Penny Dragon. So
I'm really
again,
the
very
kind of
grateful
player,
for the group we have.
if I don't show up, it's really because I really can't show up.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I
And I don't want to say it's not like that for other people, but it just sometimes feels like
I don't know, but like, life gets in the way, unfortunately, sometimes. And I'm trying to think back. Like, I've been with Penny Dragon now for over a year. Started off obviously with Fellowship of the Fallen as the first game, and I'm trying to think back. And I think other than kind of technical issues with maybe Twitch or we've had load shedding and stuff like that, I don't actually think I've ever missed a session. I'm trying to really think, and I don't think I have, because I want to be here, and I'm glad to be here. I'm very grateful to be able to be here with you guys, with the guys in the community,
yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, with the players and the DMs and everyone else in the community, like, I'm
The
blown
chat.
away.
Shout out to
Yeah,
chat.
chat. Like, that's what I'm saying. Everyone else there in the community, and the like the Penny Dragon community is one thing, but like you said, the chat community is it's its own beast.
Yeah.
And each game has their own regulars, and like shit you say and shit they say becomes an in-joke, and it's
Yes.
it's the most wonderful thing to see. Like, lick it,
Yeah.
Lick it.
Team
fucking
Dad.
lick it. Like Drew Kane and Half Elf, Half Elf on the shelf, and of course our own Mark, when he's not playing, is like the pun
Always taking
king.
the piss. Yeah.
And his missus, like his lovely wife, Half Elf on the shelf. I think it's Neve. I could be wrong. But like the crack they're throwing out there is unreal, and we have our own in jokes from chat. Like, and Christian has made emotes. Like, we've got I think
My favorite obviously is Team Dad, of course. But
yeah,
like,
of course.
half-
And if you're not a
half the
dad, you're a
chat-
dog dad.
yeah, exactly. If you're not, and doggo dads are almost just as important. Like,
Yeah.
or they are as
But
important.
like, let's play some D&D. I don't know where that came from. Like I have all of my intros in my notes app. And I think on episode 15, I was like, I'll do like 3 questions. What's going to happen here? Who's that guy? Whatever. Only one way to find out. Let's play some D&D. And then before I knew it, Christian had an emote going, let's play some D&D. I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? Like someone threw it up in chat. I didn't even know it was a thing. I'm like, wow, okay, cool. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've played like 30 characters, and this is the first one that I've played that's gone above level 5. That didn't start on like level 14. So I'm so happy to have like a. I feel like because it's a stream, I mean, there's a certain level of like, you gotta make arrangements to make it, and I feel so blessed for the opportunity to play in the stream.
I should say that in the software on stream that one of our players is going to have to step out soon enough, as there's a.
Can I play 2 characters?
No, well, it's funny you should say 2. It's funny you should say 2 characters, but there is a new NPC going to be unleashed in the world, so we may have a couple of guest players step in for a while, but we'll see how that goes.
I still gotta see Michaela's character again, considering I wrote a book about her.
Yeah. Well, look, I already extended the invitation. She's busy, but and she's welcome back anytime. But yeah, one of our characters will step out for a while, and then they'll step back in again, and we will be delighted to see them back.
Absolutely. So, guys, unless you have any other pressing questions, I think we better let chat go and have the rest of their evening. So I just want to say thank you all very much for joining me this evening. Hopefully giving our wonderful viewers, a little look into the minds of the amazing creators of, characters, and, just how brilliant you go through your processes to get things rolling. So I'm very grateful you guys could be here with me, and we could chat about this. And like I said, hopefully kept them entertained. And just to finish up, just want to say to everyone, you're loved. We're all in this together. So lift each other up. Yeah, as Joe's doing there. Make the day count for you and also for the people around you, because you never know who around you is going to need it that day.
And if you need to talk about anything, I know my DMs are open.
I've had a motto on Discord for like I think 2 years now. It's just says life sucks and then you die, so please enjoy it.
Yeah.
But if anyone's having a bad time, you all know where I am on Discord. Hit me up. I will chat with you, and I'm sure everyone else will as well.
Your friendly mods are here for you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And most importantly, everyone, just remember to keep rolling.
Clickety clack.
Good night, guys.
Love you guys.